What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the year in review and what to look forward to in terms of gaming in 2023. So compliments of the season, merry belated Christmas and happy new year in advance. I've taken a break as well just to be able to focus on some family transitions that we've been making in the last few weeks and also enjoy the holiday. It's been a very interesting year in 2022. And on the DC side of things, I think that's the very first thing we need to address is we're ending the year in a very interesting note because we got one major DC game that was very polarizing and caused a lot of division across the board. Now, here's what I think. I think a lot of hardcore DC fans really need to understand exactly what it is that this particular industry, in terms of the DC video games overall and management, is going through. You're not going to see quality DC projects for a good period of time. You're going to see a lot of really weird stuff coming very soon. You have to brace yourself for that. Why? Because with the DC games, there's only one pipeline. Everything runs through one specific filter. And if that specific filter is delivering one specific set of products, that's what you're going to get. So be very, very, very ready for this. I know many people have thrown Gotham Knights along the side and have said, and I see this all the time, that Suicide Squad is going to be this main whatever game. Keep in mind that the people who actually were making Suicide Squad will be leaving that studio possibly in the next few hours or have already left. That should give you an indicator that you ought to brace yourself for anything that you're going to see. It may be awesome, but don't go in there with all your hopes on high and then you come out here and be yelling on my comment section when the game releases. I will block you. Because some people do not know how to measure their expectations, and they find out that when they're disappointed, they think they can just come and just disturb anybody. I'm just joking. I'm not going to block you. You can express your frustrations all you want. That's your business. I was just being silly. But still, it's very interesting that that is something that many people are failing to do. You see, your expectations, for those of you who say you don't like Gotham Knights, many of you haven't played it, though. That's one of the fun parts, too, is maybe you should give the game a try now that it's on sale and stop whining. And if you actually hate the game after playing it, then sure, that's a whole different thing. But the game is basically chopped off to half price until New Year, where it'll probably go back to its normal price. And then that way you can pretty much say, okay, you tried the game and you know. But for those of you who didn't necessarily like the game, I think it was a matter of expectations. You were expecting Warner Brothers Games Montreal to come out of the block and make a phenomenal game for their very first attempt at their independent game with a new, set of developers and an entire set of leadership, and you had your expectations in the really wrong place. It's not easy for your first game to hit it. Arkham Asylum, yes, it was a great game, but I don't think that wasn't even Rocksteady's first game, but still, it was a phenomenal game, but it's basically was their first attempt. You think about, say, even other games that From Software made, when they made their initial games like Armored Core and their first Souls games, those games did not necessarily become a huge hit over, in fact, in Japan, those games did not even hit, which is basically the audience they were making it for. It hit in the West. That's where the games took off. So you have to basically, measure these things in perspective. You don't necessarily paint your very best work in the beginning. You paint your very best work at the end. Lionel Messi is winning his first World Cup towards the end of his career. That's usually how life goes. I hope a lot of our young DC fans, because I know most of you are young, I see the demographics here in our community, you need to understand this. Once you understand this, you're going to approach gaming from an entirely different perspective, and that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to give that perspective so that everybody here in our community can actually know. And I understand it may sound something like, oh, you're probably giving these games a pass and all this stuff. Life is much simpler than many people make it. These are video games. They have no consequence in the real world. You go out there, you hustle, you grind, you do what you do in reality. You come back home, and it's just a very, soft, casual medium of entertainment. There's no such thing as hardcore gaming. We need to throw that away. Hardcore would be like, hey, you're in the middle of a blizzard trying to fix a power line. Yeah, that's hardcore. Holding a controller, a mouse, and keyboard in your hand, shut up. All right, now, when we think about all of this stuff, we have to also look at other video games in perspective, because I think the gaming industry is going to be surprising a lot of people in the next few months. So what does 2023 look like? 2023 Q1 is a very interesting quarter. We have Forspoken. I'm looking forward to the game. I have a copy of it. I said this in previous videos. We're looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy. It's another one that I'm looking forward to. It's a Warner Brothers production, but the game looks like it has a very different pace. I don't know about the action. I think the game is more about the immersive experience of you being a student at Hogwarts, and they're trying to remove it from the Harry Potter genre, name, and all of that stuff. Even though it's kind of in the same world, lore and everything is kind of similar, you're going to be dealing with that game from a whole different perspective. Avalanche seems to have done a good job in making sure that their community is intertwined with the development of this game. This is where I think that Gotham Knights and its developers did not necessarily do a good job. Their marketing should have been intertwined with their community so that they could explain what this game was. I guess now they know. Now I can tell you probably where that came from is from the Ubisoft nature of Gotham Knights as a whole. Patrick Redding, Jeff Eleanor, these are Ubisoft folk, and they are used to a culture of being very secretive about their projects till it's time for it to get out. It's a good policy, but when you're launching a new or something that has some level of, uniqueness to it, you really have to pull your community in. And this is something a lot of developers, at risk of being, thrown under the bus or yelled at, or people, messing with them on the internet in their personal lives, they have to sometimes look and say, for the success and the health of their game, they probably need to engage their communities more. I think Warner Brothers Montreal can do a better job in doing that. I'm from Tom Clancy's The Division. We know the names of our community managers. We talk to them on Facebook and Twitter, on Twitter and on social media. They have game, state of the game events where they come out and they address things in the community, and we have a face to the game. That's exactly what video games are going to be transitioning to, because you keep your audience engaged as you're releasing products for them. Gotham Knights, for the most part, they did only a press run and a press tour, but never necessarily seem to connect with their community, which I can understand as well. But I think at this stage, the teams that's Warner Brothers needs to hire people that will be the faces. Not saying the developers need to be the faces. They need to focus and develop, but they need to hire faces that would represent the game and give the game kind of the connection that's necessary. Because I think that really diffuses a lot of things. A lot of the community can resonate around people and respecting things of that nature. And then moving on, we can see that half of the year, sometime in May, we're going to be getting Suicide Squad. I'm not going to hop over Jedi Survivor. That's a game that I'm really looking forward to. That game in its own right can just kind of sell itself. It's a Star Wars game. You don't need any face to that. But I also see the team at Respawn probably taking the same approach. Vince Zampella, who is the head of that studio under EA, has already proven himself to gamers with Titanfall 2, and even the Apex, game going on right now, that they have what it takes to be able to make solid games. And they're also making some more Star Wars games in the background as well. And this is where I think the DC fans need to kind of understand. The DC games right now are going through one specific pipeline. Under DC, there are about 11 studios that make these video games. They all are under the leadership of one person. In the case of Marvel, there are multiple developers and publishers that are going to be working on Marvel titles. So you're going to see a lot of diversity. I mean, everywhere from 2K being a publisher, Firaxis being a developer, all the way through EA with other studios like, say, Respawn and Motive, and all these studios going to be working on other titles, and all the way even to Amy Henning's side of things at Skydance. So it's very, very broad in the spectrum of where the Marvel games are going to be going. In fact, you think about even Spider-Man, that's all the way with Insomniac and Wolverine, and you have all of this quality, all of this capability coming together. Marvel games they're going to dominate for the most part, because even when they miss from, say, maybe one studio, another studio is going to come in and carry the buck. That's just what's going to happen. In fact, if all these other projects at EA and Skydance don't necessarily resonate, you can almost 100%, let's just say 99% count on Insomniac to carry everybody. So thinking about that, you go and look at the DC side and you say, what is DC gonna do? They have minimal studios working on these video games. You don't even know what these studios are doing, what their projects are. You know that Warner Bros. Montreal is going to be working on some other DC game, maybe a Justice League game. That's something I'm looking forward to. I hope they go full-blown RPG. I'm making a whole different video about that. And then you look at, say, Monolith They're going to be working on the Princess Diana game, basically Wonder Woman. That's going to be kind of a new IP. And there's a possibility that they continue running with that. But then you look at the overall leadership with the whole Warner Brothers and DC, and you see people like James Gunn coming in saying that, oh, we're going to be making sure that all the games follow the canon and all of this stuff. And you got to tell yourself that this is kind of one of the worst setups that you can actually think from a creative perspective. Now, granted, a lot of the already, all the projects that are ongoing, let me put it that way, they might be able to get away with it. You can't necessarily go change some plot lines and some themes. I don't know, maybe you can. Within the DC thing, maybe David Haddad might be able to say, hey, James, you just got here. I've been churning out money for Warner Brothers. And by the way, if you don't know who that is the person in charge of the 11 studios. And they might say, well, James, you do your thing with the movies. Here in the gaming side, we already have projects going on. And it's almost not possible to be able to make these changes to suit you without spending a lot of money. And I think Warner Brothers is just in a place where they don't have a lot of money right now. I mean, obviously, they could not market their Aquaman movie or whatever it is. They could not market their other movies that they wanted to release this year. So everything is on a budget because the former leaderships basically threw everything away. They faked numbers for HBO Max. They basically invested stupid money in CNN Plus. It was just a poop show overall. And the poop is flowing downstream. The video game development that takes years and years to develop are not even getting the support and the marketing and the budget that they need. Yet, a lot of these trash projects had money wasted on them in the last few years. So this is exactly what you're seeing on the DC side of things. So if you're a DC Games fan, you have two choices. Abandon ship or you go through the storm. The storm is definitely coming. You thought Gotham Knights was, whatever it is you thought about it, that's just a very small thing. You wait and see what all these are going to basically play out to be. Because I think what happens in gaming, and I have to be honest about this, is a lot of our gamers, they abandon the fact that gaming is actually a business. It will run like a business. If you ran DC, right? If you ran Apple like you ran DC, you will never have a quality product ever, forever. Do you see the difference? Apple runs their company. They run their ecosystem in a very effective way for the most part. Yes, they're not making the most premium product on the market, but boy, do they have marketing. Do they have all of what it takes, customer service and all that stuff that kind of brings a brand into some really interesting cohesion. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, they've just been running all left and all right because you have people who have been sailing the ship who do not even know how to ride a bicycle, metaphorically. So this is where we are. So I'm looking at all of this and I'm thinking, okay, the fall, we're thinking of Spider-Man. This is going to be a big game. I know they're making a Wonder Woman game, but man, Spider-Man is a superhero. He's got more name, more knowledge, more exposure than Wonder Woman could ever get in our generation. Even though a character like Wonder Woman had always been in the spotlight for a very long time. I just don't know why, she never really took off. If you think about, say, the old Wonder Woman TV series and how, TV changed and shows like that were not necessarily put on because, you had a media shift going on from some decade to some other decade. And so you never really saw the character except in maybe books and animations and all. If it wasn't for the Wonder Woman movies that were brought just recently, and the other movies, you probably would never have seen the character. So if that game is going to be going up against a game like maybe even, Spider-Man or Wolverine, which I'm thinking they're going to be coming out in similar release cycles, you're about to see, Wolverine trounce Wonder Woman. Why? Because as an X-Men, he just has more exposure. Wolverine has been in movies, I think, more than any of the X-Men ever, as a character. And with the Deadpool movie, you're going to be seeing Hugh Jackman, that's how you say it, in Australian language. You're going to see him, he's going to be returning to play, in the Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds. That's a big thing. These are aspects and factors that can market a video game. Marvel, they're spraying and praying, and it's working. In terms of DC, I don't know what they're doing, man, but I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you just have to go with maybe your old, IPs. For those who said they didn't like the Gotham Knights game, I usually recommend that they stick with the Arkham games if that's what they like. Because, you're probably looking for an era that is no longer in existence. Warner Brothers right now is at a precipice. It will either crash and burn and never gain any relevance and all its IPs waste, or it will make a fluke decision and probably hit it big. But as it stands, I don't know about a fluke decision. It has to be the one thing, which is a calculated, meticulous, well-planned decision-making process that would work. I don't know if James Gunn is going to be the person that's going to get the job done. I see a lot of people saying, oh, I place faith and hope in James Gunn and all that stuff. I don't know, man. He's one guy. I don't think he can get it all done in such a short period of time, because that's what his job is. His job was to basically come in and make things look neat and tidy. But I don't think that's kind of the landscape right now that Warner Brothers needs. Warner Brothers needs the good old Marvel days type wake-up call, where Marvel was basically about to tank, and then they basically threw a Hail Mary called the Avengers, and that worked out for them. DC needs something like that. And what it is what basically James Gunn is trying to do the opposite of, basically canning Cavill and, The Rock, these influential people that could have ridden this ship and driven it to where it needed to be. And what are they going to do now? They're going to go bring a bunch of characters that we probably know not whom they are, or at least maybe trying to reboot a universe. Yo, this is going to be a hard sell. But, I mean, I don't want to be the guy that's bringing bad news all the time, but let's just wait and see how it goes. Talk to me in the comment section, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.